Hey everybody, it's H, and welcome to the latest installment of Dune Pod, your one-stop shop to get ready for the new Dune movie. This week, I'm joined as always by my co-host Jason.
Welcome to Pretzel Mania. May I take your order?
And by engineer and podcast host Sara Owenby Chipps.
You know how computers listen, like it's like ones and zeros is all they understand. But what if it wasn't?
On this episode, we discuss Chani herself, Zendaya, in her Emmy-nominated role on HBO's brilliant but heart-wrenching series, Euphoria. We discuss how much high school has changed, a lot, just what drugs the kids are taking, and try to figure out who we're supposed to be relating to anyway. If you're enjoying the show, we need your help. Be cool like listeners MWJSTL and MichaelP, and leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts, as it really helps new listeners find the show. And now, Euphoria. What is the game you're playing?
Sarah's husband and myself both started playing Crusader Kings 3, which is a story of dynastic conquest set in the Middle Ages, in which a key part is breeding off your heirs to other prospective families.
Yeah.
Cementing political dynasties and whatnot.
Yeah. And I guess Ian's getting involved in it. Like he gave away his 9-year-old kid
To a 40-year-old woman.
It's rough.
So that they couldn't have children, so that the other son would kill him, I think. I don't remember the whole logic. But I learned about it over fish tacos, which were great.
And now we're going to talk about Euphoria. So it's really just like a lot of related. Children suffering.
This has been going on for a long time.
Suffering throughout the ages.
Yeah. Ian told me that he worked out like a deal early on where even though he was like the king of Scotland or something, he married off his son to like some Muslim, like to some like Persian kingdom or something like that. And so he was both the king of Scotland and also the king of like Persia, I guess.
Yeah, but did you hear what happened after that?
No, what happened?
So he was in Scotland and he took all the people in his community, family, whatever that is, converted
clan.
to Islam.
Oh, yeah, he converted them all. Yeah, it's great.
Converted them all. And so then everyone near them, like Ireland, everyone declared holy war, and it was
not good.
Over.
Oh, okay.
No, he's on a new game now.
Okay, it didn't work out.
He had to start over.
His attempts to bring Allah into middle-aged Hibernia did not work out.
They're already like Protestants, Catholics. What is this?
This is not for us.
Jihad's are rough, man.
We can both agree this is bad.
Right? I love it. That's great. That's great. I'm still trying to figure out what all the icons mean, so I'm slightly behind.
Amazing. Well, Sara Owenby Chipps, welcome to Dune Pod.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on and to talk one of my favorite shows.
Yes. Awesome. Well, we are really happy to have you here tonight.
But tell us about your podcast. You got a podcast?
Yeah, we're the Stack Overflow podcast. We talk about technology in general and software things.
It's a good podcast.
Nice.
It's great.
Yeah, that's the whole slant. But it's really fun. We have a lot of fun with it. We take something boring and make it kind of fun.
You guys should check it out. It's a much more. It's a more popular podcast than this one, so it's very unlikely.
You don't know. Who knows?
That like you need the promotion.
Wait till Dune comes out.
Yeah.
Nice. This is season 2, episode 3, and we are talking about HBO's breakout high school drama, Euphoria.
Yeah. Though if you're in high school, you shouldn't watch it probably.
No, It's not clear it's for anyone that's in high school. I think actually like legally you're not allowed to watch it.
I find it was a weird realization to me yesterday when I was watching like 5 episodes in a row where I was like, oh, it's a high school drama. It's an HBO high school drama. That is weird.
Yeah. No, the creator, so there's a quote that I think unlocked a lot of it for me, which is that it's basically Paul Thomas Anderson does My So-Called Life.
Okay.
Because it's kind of got like both the cinematography and like emotional vibe of like Magnolia. But with like the setting of like My So-Called Life. And like My So-Called Life is like name checked in the show. So it's clearly a touchstone for him, as is Paul Thomas Anderson.
Plus Baz Luhrmann.
Yes.
Yeah. A little bit of, Yeah, exactly.
So we're gonna get into it. Obviously, we're gonna get deep at the bottom of the hour here as we get into Euphoria and break that down. But next week on Dune Pod, really excited. There's two things that are gonna be happening. First of all, we're gonna be beginning what is called 70 millimeter month here on Dune Pod. And that is relative to, there's a podcast called 70 millimeter that some friends of mine run. And one of the three hosts is Proto Lexus, who is one of our key hosts here, who joins us for all of our Dune read-throughs. But in the month of September, we're going to have Proto, as well as the other two hosts of 70 millimeter, Slim and Danny Haas, join us to cover episodes. So the first one is going to be Slim, who is a real inspiration for me and podcasting in general. And he is going to be with us to discuss Denis Villeneuve's Jake Gyllenhaal thriller from 2013, Enemy.
Great.
Have you seen that, sir?
I have not seen it or heard it. Wait, what is it about?
It's about
enemies.
I don't want to get too far into it, but it's about Jake Gyllenhaal seeing another Jake Gyllenhaal and trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
Wow.
So don't watch any trailers.
I'm not.
Don't read anything. Just literally just watch the movie. It is phenomenal.
Great. Okay.
Coming up next week. So we're super excited about that. Shall we get into Dune news?
Dune news.
Would you like to know more?
I want to say, first of all, we have watched the trailer.
Yes, we've watched the trailer, and we want to shout out our own personal Fedaykin empire of Death Commando terror troops who send us leaks and other key information. Thank you. You know who you are. We appreciate it. And so we have seen the trailer, and it is, I think the first thing we need to clarify is it's not actually a trailer. It is a 30-second teaser, which is teasing the full-length trailer, which will come on September 9th.
1 minute and 37-second teaser. 1 minute and
37
but
seconds.
But it feels like 30 seconds.
Yeah, It feels fast. Yeah, and it's fire. It's really good. It's definitely Dune. I can confirm 100% that it is stuff that happens in Dune.
Wait, is this like a good, do we have like Dune hot takes, or is it more like
No, hot takes.
Oh, you do whatever you want.
No.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell us this is a shit movie.
Yeah, I loved it. I was like, I watched the thing and I was like, man, I'm so behind, the lead Paul, like Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah.
Is it who Timothée Chalamet is playing? Yeah, okay. So I'm on like, so down, like I will pledge allegiance to this man, like follow him into the woods. And then I was like, oh man, is this going to be like another guy like Timothée Chalamet is like going to save everything again? Like I feel like there's a lot of those. So it made me less excited, but I'm going to watch it and I'm going to be amped. I mean,
awesome. I really loved it from a visual perspective. Now, obviously, we're watching a leak of the trailer, so it's like really grainy and very grungy. But I love the way Chalamet looks. His hair is like super grimy, and he is like everything's dark, really darkly lit.
Yeah.
But also, we get a little sliver. I don't know if it's temp track or if it's the real thing, but you get a little sliver of Hans Zimmer's score, which sounded very, very cool.
That was really good. Yeah.
Has a good flavor there that I liked a lot.
There's a lot of in the scene is, we should say, it's mostly anchored around the Gom Jabbar scene in which Paul is tested by the Reverend Mother guys, Helena Mohem. And he's got we see the Gom Jabbar, we see the box of pain, so it's centered around that idea. And then there's like it's basically like little flashes of like the other main characters, like no worms, brief shot of the desert, like no shields, no like nothing else really. It's just like the pain room. But like that scene looks like it's got some real atmosphere. Like I liked what I was seeing.
Yeah, it seems like you could have a whole movie around that scene. Yeah.
Well, it's literally the first scene in the book. And so it is like a really strong punch in the face to start it out. So I really like that. So people are freaking out all across the web. A lot of excitement on that. You're starting to get some of the merchandise and things. I saw magnets available for sale.
I've purchased those.
Wow.
Coming soon. Okay, good. Very.
Are you a big magnet purchaser or is it just... Yeah.
Nope. They're probably dangerous to have around because a toddler will eat them. So...
the other big thing that happened was Empire Magazine had their pre-order and had an incredible spread of photos. So you're getting tons of awesome photos across there. So by the time you listen to this, head out to Twitter, check out Dune Pod's Dune News list, which you can follow for all the latest information. But you'll definitely see lots of good shots that are out there right now.
Yeah, and like more shots coming out like by the minute. Like there's a good shot of Duncan, Idaho, Jason Momoa, Aquaman, playing Duncan, Idaho, like fighting with like his big sword and his little box cutter. And then there's like, there was a shot today of like all of the Harkonnen troops, like this massive scene of like just like thousands and thousands of Harkonnen troops like loading up to go take Arrakis. And so there's just, and the other thing was there's some good desert footage of where they shot it in Jordan, Wadi Rum. And this desert looks fucking awesome. Like, I mean, I think one of the things we talked about when we covered David Lynch's Dune is that the desert that they shot in, which is around Mexico City, kind of just looked pretty bland. Like it was basically just a bunch of sand. But like Wadi Rum is not a bunch of sand. It is a bunch of like, sandstone like etched out of the desert by like millennia of sandstorms. It looks like a place where a sandworm would live. So I'm pretty hyped.
Nice. My
concern now is, the running joke is that I don't think this movie is ever going to come out. I'm concerned this movie is definitely going to come out. And the problem is going to be...
the flip was sudden. It's just like, bam.
And the problem is going to be that the movie is supposed to come out on December 18th, which means that it will come out during like peak flu season of a pandemic wherein I have a 1-month-old newborn and a toddler at home. And it just seems likely that I'm not going to see this movie like for a very long time.
Have you thought at all about doing kind of like the NBA thing of putting
I have to go
like
in the bubble.
In a bubble, living in the bubble for a while and then...
Great. You have to sell it to Crystal that I'm going to go live in a bubble.
You guys can all go live in the bubble. For the movie, but they may not want to. She may not want to.
Yeah, it may be a tougher sell. I think I will go live in a bubble to watch the movie. I'll be gone for a month.
I'm picturing you with like, you got toddler on the back, you got baby on the front. It's like a 10 a.m. showing. You're like rocking the whole time trying to make it happen.
Do you think it's going to be like, I remember, well, I mean, it was kind of not the same. I mean, I did wear those like a full body like space outfit to go see Ender's Game when it came out at midnight because I was like so hyped.
Great idea. I could wear like a still suit / like COVID prevention like thingy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that's a great idea. Yeah.
It's like cosplay plush like good hygiene.
Yeah. That's great. That's really true. I hope it's better for you than Ender's Game was for me.
What happened? Oh, the movie's just not very good.
It's just not good.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
I didn't watch it.
It's terrible.
I didn't watch it.
It's really awful.
Yeah.
First book is amazing. I really love the first book for sure. But
yeah, that's a complicated one.
On many levels.
More children doing questionable things. It's really a theme for the night. Send your 9-year-olds off to get married or into like, super
Space
soldier
war.
battle. Yeah.
I do want to close off Dune News with a quote from Empire magazine. So Denny was interviewed as part of the magazine, and when asked about 1984's Dune by David Lynch and Dino De Laurentiis, which we covered 2 weeks ago on the pod, he said, quote, "I'm a big David Lynch fan. He's the master. When I saw Lynch's Dune, I remember being excited, but his take, there are parts that I love and other elements that I'm less comfortable with. So it's like, I remember being half satisfied. That's why I was thinking to myself, there's still a movie that needs to be made about that book, just a different sensibility."
Very generous.
Promising.
From Monsieur Villeneuve. Yeah.
I was reading that in my head. It was Fred. I do not like this.
I do not like this. It is not good. Yeah. No, definitely a rough. I mean, yeah. He's gonna do a good job.
So here's what struck me when I read this, and I meant to say this on our Lynch episode. In the interview with Roger Deakins on Team Deakins podcast, Denny said, "I could never have gone from Prisoners in 2013 straight to Dune. Like, I just couldn't have made the movie. I had to make Arrival. I had to make Blade Runner 2049. Now I'm ready to do Dune." And that's what happened. Lynch went from Elephant Man, a small independent black and white film, to one of the largest budget Hollywood films ever made, sci-fi epic. And he just wasn't prepared to be able to make that jump.
Yeah. Also not surprising that the director of Arrival would believe in like a fatalistic universe in which he had to go through all the struggles that came before in order to end up directing this movie about prescience.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Wait, which one is Arrival? Was Arrival the one with the aliens and the signs in the wall? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amy Adams,
Yeah. I love that one.
Yeah. It's good. We have a podcast on that too. A heptapodcast, if you will.
I don't.
Nerd.
Was it a reference?
Because the heptapods are the aliens.
Oh yeah. Okay. Great. Okay.
Sorry.
But you can edit in me laughing to that because I know.
Yeah, put in a laugh right there, like a really good one, because that was a great joke.
Ready, go. And cut.
It was a quiet laugh.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll put some captions over the bottom.
Yeah, great. You could just do it in the transcripts.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, shall we get into it?
Yes.
Yes.
Euphoria is the struggle to survive, even just to breathe. 17-year-old Rue Bennett is a drug addict. Diagnosed as a young child with OCD, depression, anxiety, and maybe bipolar disorder, she's been popping pills, smoking, snorting, and dosing for years. After a massive overdose and coma nearly kills her, she completes a stint in rehab and returns to pick up the pieces of her shattered life and to score drugs, of course. Rue thinks she has nothing to live for until she meets Jules, the new girl in town. But when Jules stumbles headlong into an abusive triangle relationship with the damaged football captain Nate and his twisted father, Rue is sucked into danger alongside her. Weaving in and out of Rue's life are her friends who are neck deep in their own battles. A shy flower living in her sister's shadow, her sister, the sexually exploited train wreck, and her conflicted but thoughtful boyfriend. A budding fanfic writer, video chat dominatrix seizing her own sexual power, and Nate's abused and spurned girlfriend. Against this backdrop, can Rue overcome fear, longing, and addiction to find love and acceptance? Or will she tear her family apart again? Euphoria.
Euphoria.
It sounds like just a lovely stroll down a happy lane. It's great.
It's such a good show. I keep trying to show it to people, and they're like, "Why are you showing me this? This is really stressful and sad."
Yeah, I was really glad that we did Euphoria the week after we did Little Women, where like I was like kind of not into Little Women because it was a little too happy and like a little too upbeat.
Yeah.
And like
this is not that.
And then we watched Euphoria. We started watching Euphoria. I was like, yes, this is what I want. Like just fucking despair, but gorgeous. I love this show. I'd forgotten how much I liked it until I was rewatching it.
Yeah.
It was interesting. So Sarah, you actually called this episode like 3 months ago when we first started the podcast, and we talked about some stuff there. I think Jason shared some of our list, and you called for it. Part of my challenge, I have a 23-year-old daughter. So some of these issues and sort of setting are very relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that's really difficult. I think it's kind of like a coming of age story for me, because I am torn between both like, oh, that's me, like that fun high school person is me, and like, oh my God, that could be my daughter, and I'd lock her in a closet. I'd never let her out. It's very like, that's a coming of age thing where it's like, you don't know who to identify with more.
And I think it's an interesting generational thing that goes on with this show, because I think it's basically like sort of like a Gen X created show showing Gen like Z, but like to sort of torment millennials in a way, like to kind of like be like, it's this like multi-generational thing, because like millennials are like, come on, like, like this is blah, 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 like there's like a big millennial like backlash to this show, but it's not really about millennials. It's about the generation that's younger than millennials, right? And so it's an interesting, but I think there's something about it. Well, one hint is that almost all of the episode titles are 90s hip hop songs, like are like the titles of like
I didn't
90s
even notice
hip.
that.
Yeah. And so it's like and like it is like there's a lot of like the My So-Called Life reference, and like there's a lot of stuff that's just like very much like a Gen X dude who himself had addiction issues like wrote this show, and so there's an interesting generational like kind of warfare thing going on here, which I love, because the Gen X is the forgotten generation. We got to have something.
So sad.
Don't get no respect.
Yeah.
So we're going to get spoilerific through this, and we're going to cover a couple of episodes in some detail, and then I think we're going to talk broadly about the rest of the show and try not to ruin everything towards the end of it. Starting with the pilot, episode 1, right out of the gate with Rue in the womb, I was happy once and content, and describing being born 3 days after 9/11. That was pretty powerful, the idea of this entire generation having been raised in the shadow of 9/11 and endless war and multiple financial crises.
Spoiler, it didn't get better after that, like for this generation.
Yeah, no shit. It's not working out so well.
No, it's not going great for them.
Yeah, it is really wild thinking about that. And yeah, endless war is really interesting. There used to be the concept of wars.
Yeah.
Right? Like where you were doing a war and then you're not doing a war anymore.
Yeah.
And that's not really what this generation has experienced at all.
They also like with that womb shot, like kind of establish like the stylistic palette for the whole show, like this purple pink, like kind of tone that's going to be a big color marker for the whole show. They come out of the gate swinging. Like they're like, look, like this is going to be a thing. Like you're going to have to get comfortable with like how this is put together, the cuts, like the motion of the camera, like the palette, like the super plussed up like color dynamic of it. And for me, I was just like, yes, I'm ready. Take me.
Yeah.
And it thrives on her voiceover, right? Through the whole thing. She is this narrator. She describes herself as being an unreliable narrator. But it's amazing to have her walking through that. And she does, quickly describe, you see her as a young child, OCD, ADD, general anxiety, again, maybe bipolar disorder. And her mom saying, hey, a lot of great people have struggled with that. Van Gogh, Sylvia Plath, Britney.
I really respect that they went and shot like the Sylvia Plath scene of her putting her head in the oven. Like that whole, that shot is like maybe 4 seconds or something. Like, and it's gorgeous. Like they did like a whole set dressing in a pilot of just Sylvia Plath, like Sylvia Plath's outfit is period correct. Like all this shit, like they did for like a 5-second shot or something. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing is very extra is the only word I can think of.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like the production quality is it seems like there's a big budget there.
Yes. They had some money.
Totally. And one of the big standouts for that is anytime there is drug use on the show. So you have very quickly we have Rue starting boozing and snorting, and her describing the notion of wanting to get to that 2 seconds of nothingness.
And then it happens. That moment when your breath starts to slow. And every time you breathe out all the oxygen you have. And everything stops. Your heart, your lungs, and finally your brain. And everything you feel and wish and want to forget, it all just sinks. And then suddenly, you give it air again, give it life again.
And then it goes to the credits. And it's like, holy shit.
I love that there's the shot of her doing like the hula hoop as the little girl before it goes to the credits. Like, I just think that like basically, actually, if you go back and look, like every credit shot when they go to the Euphoria title card is amazing. Like the way they put together, like it's a real statement about the show. Like the music cue, like the thing that happens like right before it, it's really well done. The thing about the show, like I guess like taking a step back before we go through the whole the plot of this pilot, is like it is a ridiculously dense show. Like there's each episode has like a different kind of character point of view in which they're kind of doing the backstory of that character. But at the same time, they're advancing like the narrative across like 4 or 5 different stories. And it's all very tightly wound together and is also wrapped up in this like, hyper real visual style and like, visual and musical style. I mean, I'm sure we'll get more into the soundtrack, but it's like, it's unbelievable how they use music in this show. And so you're really like, it's asking a lot of the audience. Like, it's one of those shows that's like, you're going to have to do some work to kind of hold all of this together. And as I was rewatching it for this podcast, I was surprised by how much I had forgotten, because it's just so dense that you can't actually hold the whole show in your head, unlike, something else.
Yeah, I find it really emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, just you get through, you have this like emotional attachment to certain characters. And especially I found myself really loving Rue, like learning about her struggles and her family's struggles, and just watching how she grew up and how difficult it was for her and how difficult it was for her family. And then you're just kind of plunged into this world that she's in with all these people having different struggles. And I feel like at the end you walk away like, whew, I just took on a lot.
Yeah, it's draining.
Totally. I mean, so much rests on Zendaya's shoulders, and I just think she, start to finish, is phenomenal. Both the way she moves, her energy, her ability to portray the highs and the lows. Similar to Joe March last week, that strength as well as the vulnerability really, really comes through in a powerful way.
Yeah.
So I love it. She gets out of rehab. And, typically you're like, hey, let's celebrate. This is great news getting out of rehab. But you definitely don't have that sense that things are going to be okay. Her sister Gia, excited to see her. Mom, a little more reserved. But then we have the first introduction as they're taking the car on their way home, where she sees Jules on her bike. So can we just talk about Hunter Schafer playing Jules on the show?
I love Hunter Schafer. I'm obsessed with her. I follow all her Instagrams and all her fan Instagrams. And I just find her to be such a great Gen Z icon, both in style and maybe just in style in general. Like she's modeled a lot as well. And I think that's one thing if you follow the stars of this show in general, like obviously Zendaya, obviously Hunter Schafer, but even the girl playing Maddie and the other characters, they have an amazing style and are making an impact in the world of fashion and beauty. It's really neat.
She had just these amazing, her eyelid game, eyeshadow or whatever, all the stuff that was pasted on. There was one scene where she had clouds drawn on her eyes. It was a great look.
Yeah, I follow that makeup artist. It's one makeup artist that did it for all of them. And her work's very amazing. Now I want to find her.
I read a thing where basically she did a different look for Jules and all the characters, based on whatever outfit they were wearing. So if you see a 2-second shot of Jules in some other outfit, she's got a distinct eye makeup deal for just like that. But I mean, it's this show's now a year old. The eye makeup. The eye makeup of the show was a cultural phenomenon at the time. I remember I downloaded an Instagram filter so that I could use the eye makeup from the show. On,
no way! I missed that one.
Oh no, we'll include that in show notes. My attempts to.
Maybe you should restart that with your COVID
my
look.
COVID deranged.
That could help.
My deranged hairy Jew look. No, it's not really. There's nothing that can save
Daniela
me now.
Davy is the name of the makeup artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And she had a different theory, and all the characters. I mean, not just Jules. Jules is the most amazing, but all of the characters.
No, Maddie had tons of glistening stuff around her eyes,
bedazzled bits.
Yeah.
So obviously, priority number one for Rue is scoring. So she heads over to two of my favorite characters on the show by far, Fez and Ashtray.
Yeah,
I love Ashtray. Is he 8 or 9?
I don't know, but every moment he is on, every line he says is just.
I thought your ass was dead.
I thought you had Asperger's, so I realized you're just a prick.
This is a fickle industry. Y'all come and go. I'm just trying to stack my cash, pay off our mortgage. So what the fuck you want?
He's so good. Have you got to the part where he's selling crypto?
The part where he explains Bitcoin was absolutely fantastic.
That's literally what it was invented for.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really terrific. So I love that, and I just love Fez's whole vibe. She describes him as rotating in the other direction from the rest of the world, but he really comes through as a genuine and thoughtful, good person through the show. Although obviously he's doing, very suspect and shady things.
Yeah, truly a heartbreaking.
Oh no, it's his name's Angus Cloud, and this was his first credit. He's never done anything before this, which I thought was ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Yeah, the character in general is like a real dimensional character. It becomes clear, I think, throughout the series, spoiler, that the reason he's doing this is he has a mother with severe health issues that he takes care of, and it becomes clear that that is why this is important, that he would not be able to support her otherwise.
Well, he also discovers that sometimes you have supply being, demand being pushed down from the supply side that you don't have control over. So he ends up himself way in over deep and struggling with his own challenges. Which I thought was really cool. So Rue scores, but she has to pass a piss test for her mom. So she hits up Lexi, Maud Apatow, who has been incredible since This Is 40.
Oh.
She's amazing in that. She and her sister are both in that and are hilarious. They're the kids in This Is 40. And also, I guess, Knocked Up when they were even younger. Hilarious in those movies, and she's great here.
Yeah. She plays like the same role, a very similar role. She played a very similar role in King of Staten Island. I don't know if you saw it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. She plays the sister who's very good and everyone roots for, but doesn't get enough attention.
Mm-hmm. Through the midst of this, Rue reflecting on, her flashback to her OD and the impact of Gia from her sister of finding her. And I just love, this is a real moment of honesty from Rue, where she says,
I know a lot of you probably hate me right now, and I get it. If I could be a different person, I promise you, I would. Not because I want it, but because they do. And therein lies the catch.
Which to me is like the central theme of this entire project is how does she deal with the struggle with depression, anxiety, and addiction versus not wanting to hurt her family.
Yeah, it's really tough. I think that is a story for a lot of addicts, I'm sure.
It's a rough one, man. It's a rough one. I think so one of the things in this show is that there's basically two characters that are primarily dealing with trauma and are kind of processing that through pathology. And like Rue is like dealing with the trauma of her dad and also, she's like OCD before that, but like it is dealing with that through addiction. And like Rue is like the one character that's like really addicted to drugs. Like there's a lot of drug use in the show, but like Rue is like an addict. Like she's got a different pathology. The other character is Nate, who has this experience when he's a kid where he realizes that his dad is living this secret life and has this other sexual identity, and like from that develops his own kind of like dominant revenge-based sexual identity that becomes pathological unto himself. And like that's like sort of the dynamic between the antagonist and the protagonist in the show is the two of them are set up like processing their traumas through those two different pathological drives.
Such an interesting way of looking at it. Mm-hmm. I'm so quick to like be like, oh, Nate's a piece of garbage and Rue is a sweet angel.
Right. Well, I mean, she is the hero. I mean, she's the anti-hero, and Nate is like unbelievable villain. And I think like that's like one of the things in rewatching the show that I did kind of clue into is that you're kind of set up from the beginning, and we're almost at the scene now where like Nate is like the kind of stereotypical jock in high school who's like just kind of sucks because he like has like a like a porn based attitude towards sex and like women, and like he just kind of sucks, but like he's like generic suck as opposed to like American Psycho suck. And you realize like watching it the second time, I was like, no, that dude there's something broken, and like he's activated on like some different level than anyone else in the show.
But there are some layers to him that I think are more complex. But I definitely relate. Like I hated Nate, like literally so the next scene is the party at McKay's house, where Nate starts by almost running over Jules and causing her to crash.
Yeah. What an intro.
Yeah.
Nate. Yeah.
But then my notes from the pre-party at McKay's house where Nate is holding court, all the guys have their shirts off.
Why does no one have a shirt on?
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask about that. I asked Ian, my partner, I asked him while we were watching. I was like, do you guys just like do this? Do you like go get together?
Nope.
Everyone takes off their shirt and just hangs out?
Nope.
It's an interesting. I think it's maybe worth. That definitely stands out. Also, it's this ridiculously lit scene where everything's purple and pink, and so it's again kind of cueing you into the visual language of the show. Everyone's got their shirt off. This show has an interesting relationship with like male bodies. I mean, I think this show has more male frontal nudity than like I don't know anything I've seen. Like I mean, like there's basically more dicks in this show than like any. I mean, than any HBO show. I mean, even like Game of Thrones, like which had a bunch of dicks. Like this show has
not close.
This show has a lot of dicks, and like in a way that like kind of becomes like it's kind of clear they know they're putting a lot of dicks on screen, and so like it's like they have like a whole PowerPoint presentation on dicks, and so I think like they're doing some kind of like subversive thing about like high school sex comedies there, where they're making such a point to like objectify the male body in a way that I think is interesting.
Yeah, they kind of do it to both, I think. I mean,
there's
like
very little boobs though in this show. Like, I mean, there's very little nudity otherwise. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like questionable outfits, but like the most of the nudity is male nudity in this show.
Interesting.
Yeah. Someone said to me once, is it just me or is the show and by someone I mean my partner, we were watching it and he said, is it me or this show really male gazy? And I didn't think so.
Because
that made me wonder if it made me
well, so this is one of the criticisms that comes out about the show too, which is like how like is this just gratuitous teenage shit like wrapped in like a very high production wrapper? Yes, like there is, that is true, but like I don't think the point, and like there's definitely like was a strain of criticism that was primarily like, and it's interesting that Ian was the one that voiced this, because I think this was the millennial knock on the show, was that this was just like like scantily clad, like sort of like whatever pure interest stuff, like wrapped in like a highbrow package. But I don't think that's true. I think like the visual style of the show is really meant to like amp up the emotional stakes of like for the viewer, and it's meant to make you feel like the way high school feels, which is that like everything matters and like every moment is like the most important thing that's ever mattered, and it's life or death at any given time, and like that's like I think what's interesting about what's going on here.
It's definitely not titillating or like prurient or like this is a turn on situation for any of this.
Right.
Like the situations are almost all bad, right?
Yeah, it's not very gratuitous in that way. Like it's not like
Right. Any sex scene is like some intense power struggle that's happening between two people, and who has control and who doesn't have control and who gets power through that.
And informed by like sort of the narrative of like, all of these kids' like sex lives are informed by the fact that they are the first generation to have had access to hardcore pornography from like the time they were 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I mean, that is a big generational divide, right? I mean, like, like this is something that like that generation really did have impress upon their sexual consciousness.
So this is important, right? So at the pre-party where the guys have their shirts off, you have Nate is really dissing Cassie because who's Lexi's sister, because McKay likes her. And it's kind of established pretty quickly. McKay seems like kind of a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's defending her and being thoughtful, but then they're talking about how, she's done bad things. And Nate says they're going to, quote, take a trip to the land of shame. My notes were the world is terrible. These guys are awful. Like this is where this was my first pass of like, this is really bad. And you do have this moment where Rue says,
here's the fucking thing that pisses me off about the world. Like every time someone's shit gets leaked, whether it's J-Law or Leslie Jones, the whole world's like, well, if you don't want it out there, don't take the news in the first place. I'm sorry. I know your generation relied on flowers and father's permission, but it's 2019. And unless you're Amish, nudes are the currency of love. So stop shaming us. Shame the assholes who create password-protected online directories of naked underage girls.
Yeah, I mean, like again, like I grew up with the internet, but it was like BBSing in St. Louis, Missouri. We did not have password protected
Different.
revenge porn sites. Like that is not a thing.
I mean, am I dumb? Is that I mean, I know that's a thing, but like, is that a normal thing?
I think it's a big thing. I think it's, I mean, because like there's been enough cases where it's been busted where like I think every school has like some sort of private directory or private stash of like places where people swap the nudes.
Oh, so rough.
That's rough.
And like that's just the way that it is for this generation. And so you also have this moment that for me was one of the toughest in the thing where McKay is hooking up with Cassie at the party, and then he gets aggressive, and they stop, and she says, "Hey, this isn't about to be a rape," and then you have this porn montage that it was very upsetting.
Yeah. And
then this notion of Nate being concerned, and she says, "Well, just ask me first before you choke me."
Yeah.
It's like the world is complicated, it turns out.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, I think very desensitized to what we thought was risque. It's like they think it's like a Tuesday when they accidentally Googled something weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So set against this, you have Jules going to a hotel for a hookup with dominant daddy.
Yeah.
And Rue narrating saying she would have been better just going to McKay's, which just gives you that much more attention. But all of that scene, just open your mouth wider. And Eric Dane McSteamy, who plays Dominant Daddy, I thought he was really, really good in this role, and it was deeply upsetting.
Yeah, same. Both of those.
He is really good in this role.
Yeah.
I love that they cut from that back to the party, and Rue says,
And then I got weird.
and I literally turned to my wife. I was like, and then? But when she takes the drug, the spinning hallway shot as she's
This is some good shit.
I loved that. Yeah, that was so good.
And like the visual of like the Inception like style like spinning hallway is obviously visually arresting. However, the music cue in that scene is also phenomenal because, basically, so the song is like, I Know There's Gonna Be Good Times by Jamie XX and Young Thug. And you hear the hook before she goes into the bathroom to take the drugs. And it's just like the hook of the song. And then she does the drugs and the song kicks in for real.
Work every day till we meet ends. Have to turn it up on the weekends. Boss a toast to your real friend. Tell me why you're drinking, yeah.
And there's this whole effect of the song kind of like fading in and out. Like, it's this hallucinatory kind of effect of like you hear different parts of the song and the way that it's crossfaded in is just amazingly well done. Like the music production in this show is fucking unbelievable. Like most of like the background tracks were done by Labyrinth, and the whole soundtrack's like amazing.
Yeah, I listen to that soundtrack all the time.
Oh my god,
so good.
It's just so good. Yeah. Anyway, I was really
phenomenal. Yeah, really phenomenal. And I love the fact that as she's walking, other people they're not flipping. And so in the Inception fight scene, he's flipping with the other guy. Yeah, but so it made it way more intense and interesting that way. There's also a shitload of everything else going on at the party. Nate and Maddie are tormenting each other, which is like, we described in Call Me By Your Name, that notion of when you're desperately trying to get someone else to notice that you're doing something. This is like that times 100 or times 1,000, where she's like boning the guy in the pool, Tyler, who rewatching it today, I was like, okay, Tyler, you're a fucking asshole for being at the party in the first place, but also I kind of feel bad that you're about to get swept up.
Also he's a fucking asshole for being at the party in the first place. I forgot. He's like the older guy that graduated forever ago that's still going to high school parties.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe not poor Tyler.
You also have Kat, who is going to sleep with a guy at a party, right? She's drinking and having a good time and trying to get some sense. McKay's brothers, Thing 1 and Thing 2. I love those guys through the whole series.
Such a funny character, together.
And the guy that she sleeps with has like the Dr. Yui mustache situation, like the little tiny pencil, like wet mustache.
Wasn't great.
Oof.
Thumbs down.
There's a couple things like with both Fez and like little mustache guy, like there's a couple things here where I think it gives you like strong like kids vibes. Like I think like, there's sort of like these non-actors who are like playing like, who are playing like degenerate teenagers, which sort of does harken back to if you're my generation, like what Kids was like to see, you know, when it came out.
Yep. I did love Fez. So I didn't catch the first time when she went and bought drugs from Ashtray. I didn't catch that Fez was her dealer. And so that makes it even better when he tells her,
I'm serious, Rue. I've seen a lot of people die. None like you. Nah, I don't know what type of fucked up shit you got going inside your head. And I don't know how to help. But I could tell you one thing. This drug shit, it's not the answer.
Right.
He's so good.
when your dealer tells you that, it's like, that's a problem. All right, so Nate freaks out seeing Maddie. He freaks out in the kitchen. Jules is in there. He gets in her face. She draws a knife. And I love how he turns chicken shit immediately when faced with somebody who is willing to stand up against him. And then she goes further to cut herself to really freak everybody out. And then she's like, I'm Jules. I'm new in town. And Rue is like immediately smitten and goes home with her after the party.
I watch that scene. I think about, what fear she must have. So Hunter Schafer is a transgender woman. And I think a lot about how in that hypothetical scene, the thing that's going through her mind is just like all the statistics, all the things, this, I'm backed in this corner, and what is going to get me out of this? Because this isn't going to end well.
She has that line where she says, like, I knew it was going to end in violence and I didn't want to have a broken cheekbone. Yeah. And it's pretty grim. I think it's worth saying here too, this is a show that introduces a trans character without making a big deal about sort of signposting hey, this is a trans character. It doesn't do it in a way that's hey, the identity, the gender identity of this character is the labeling that's important for you to understand the show. Yeah, part of the plot. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really well done. And it's as a predominant, as one of sort of the leading transgendered characters on a major show, I think it kind of breaks ground in terms of in that way. So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I love that about it.
So the capstone of the episode is Nate gets home. He's still drunk. And he walks upstairs and we have the big reveal that with the family photo that his dad is dominant daddy. So we know there's going to be big problems. So I was my stomach was completely ripped up inside watching this episode. And then when you got to that reveal, I was like, holy shit. Okay, come on, let's get into episode 2 and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the hip hop reference for Stuntin' Like My Daddy?
I think that, that's an actual song. That's that is not a 90s hip hop song.
Okay.
That's Lil Wayne though. So it's 2000s.
Okay.
That's Lil Wayne and Birdman.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned this earlier, Jason, that each episode features a different character for the intro. And I noticed today when I was watching the finale, episode 8, the first 10 minutes is Cassie, just nonstop in terms of her story. I just thought that was wild how they keep
it going. Yeah.
Yeah. One part that I thought was this really nice head fake at the beginning, Rue talks about the fact that when she's high, she thinks she has superpowers. And then it goes into Nate as a kid with him discovering his dad's video hookup stash and starting to work out and starting to be really intense and kind of dealing with anger and yelling in the mirror and whatnot. I didn't have that. I don't know about you, Jason. What was your bench pressing regimen?
Didn't get a lot of reps in as a kid. It was really busy BBSing and hanging out in IRC. So that kept me
reading analog,
kept me out of the gym. But yeah, I think the reason why I think they introduced Nate in the second episode because he is the antagonist of the show, and he does have understanding Nate's origin story and what happened to Nate is as important as understanding what happened to Rue.
Yeah, to really queue up for the series.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that he's got this notion that he's got to like defend women in this like kind of twisted way, and he's got like
fantasy.
Yeah, and like he doesn't want to like he's got like some aversion to seeing penises that like is based on like this sexual exposure that he had when he was a kid. So there's a lot of building of his pathology that happens in the very beginning of the second episode, which I think is kind of indicative of how important his character is in the show, even though he's obviously terrible, and the piece of shit reaction is definitely justified.
Yeah.
I love Maddie decides that she's going to just choose a line and go with it. She's going to say that she blacked out, and then she's going to basically pull Nate. She'd rather have Nate on her side than against her. So we cut from there straight to Rue and Jules, and this is like their first night together, and they decide that they're going to do drugs. They're going to do the pills that Ashtray gave them, and she just says she has no idea what they are.
I love that.
Oh yeah. It's like IoT 47 or something like that. And like
2CT2, 2CT7, and 5-MeO DIPT.
I'm sorry, I have zero fucking idea what you just said.
Doesn't matter. For this shit, is fucking lit.
There's like an age in life where that's a thing, I think.
It's definitely a thing. Like I remember when I moved to San Francisco and like the early tech scene in 2000s, like the smart drug scene of like people who would be like, oh yeah, I just got like like this fucking acronym, and I'm like, what is it?
Great.
And it's like I just got RAID 5. It's awesome. And like
do I need water or do I?
Yeah, I never did RAID 5, so I don't know. I still don't know what it does.
RAID 5. Yeah. So they do have this great piece where they take the drugs and you have all of the colors of saturation, right? You have the shot of like all the glistening, and especially on Jules' face, her entire face is glittering. Yeah. And you have all the music is going in and out and all these sound effects. And then they cut to just the two of them face to face with no sound and no nothing. So you get sort of like, what's the reality of what's happening? And it's like the scene in Freaks and Geeks where Jason Segel's playing Rush downstairs in the basement by himself, and he thinks he's like, they play it like he's playing it perfectly, and then it's actually just him doing something terrible. That was awesome.
I saw some description that Jules' like bedroom is supposed to feel like a nest, which I really liked, because it had like sort of this, it's like kind of like in an attic. It feels like it's on like a little perch.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
Yeah.
So you do have Rue describes, she has a good experience with Jules through this process. And she says, I'm not supposed to say this, but drugs are cool.
Right. ...
Until they wreck your life and your family. That's when they get uncool. It's actually a very narrow window of cool. And once you pass through that window of cool, it's kind of embarrassing.
Right. Yeah, which I think is, again, like the theory of the show, which is like there's one character who's a drug addict in the show, and like everyone else is just like a teenager. And like that's like sort of the difference between the relationship to drugs.
Yeah, and it's nice that she is such a good anti-hero, because I think there's a lot of empathetic. I think in real life, the drug addicts that I have met are very gregarious and have really interesting and dimensional lives, and are annoying and hurt people near them. But also, if you sit down with them and have a conversation, it could be a really fun time.
Really fun at parties. Like, I mean, exactly. There's, it's not just like, oh, they're completely a drain on society or something like that. Yeah.
Well, so Rue is called to share a memory in school. And this is where we have a really kind of challenging montage of her. And all of this is set to this Bobby Womack cover of Fly Me to the Moon. That was so gorgeous. Like, I couldn't believe this song. And all of the ups and downs of the family, and the positives and the negatives of dealing with a drug addict that her mother and sister were trying to deal with. I just thought that was so powerful.
I love the scenes of like her sister, Gia, who's played by Storm Reed, who's really good. Like dancing, like in that little montage, like she does like a little shimmy. She does like some brush your dirt off your shoulders dance, and like she's just doing like she's doing some good like stuff in the front seat of the car later, and it's really good.
So we do have this. We have this first time introduced that Rue started taking Oxy from hanging out with her dad, and the fact that her dad had cancer and that she was taking care of him. Her mom was working 2 jobs to try and keep things together. And I did notice when she took Oxy that first time, all of us the song by Labyrinth, and Zendaya came up.
Yeah.
And I started to realize as I was listening, it's
in
like
a
woven
bunch of
through the whole
shows.
series.
Yeah.
It keeps flowing through. And
You know when it's like significant because that song is on.
Yeah.
Totally.
That was one of
So
I made the same note. That's like one of the rewarding things of rewatching the show the second time is like you understand where you're going. And so it like that musical cue, and then actually the very first scene of the show, like her dad's wearing the sweatshirt, and like there's a lot of stuff that's like signposting about where you're going.
So I was going to get there because I completely missed it. And when that reveal happened in episode 8, that it's her dad's sweatshirt, that just changed everything for me in terms of her like wearing that as a suit of armor to keep the world out and to give her distance. That was intense.
Yeah.
So we have Kat dealing with the fact that video has been posted. And I love this ride, her denying it, her taking out the principal when he tries to give her a hard time, and just dealing that. I like Kat through this entire series, I think is one of my favorite characters.
Kat is a hero, man. She really owns it. Like I love the Kat episode, which I guess is like the third one, right? And she's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, she's a force. I really love different things she discovers sexually, and her ability when at first in this episode she was really shamed. She was publicly shamed. She found a way to turn that shame into something more powerful for her, which is great.
Yeah, for sure. So Rue and Jules go on a great bike ride, and they're just like, they're in the bloom of love and really having a great time. Can I just ask, where are they? I thought it was LA with all the palm trees, but then suddenly there are these like really big mountains, like
we
snow.
We couldn't decide either. I think it is LA.
It's LA. Yeah. Like confirmed locations include Sony Studios in Los Angeles, Del Amo Fashion Center in Torrance, and Ulysses S. Grant High School in Valley Glen. So it's like the Valley.
Okay.
But
where are those mountains from? Good question.
I mean, I think it's like the mountains on the other side of the valley, right?
I just didn't expect to see so much snow up there, so I was surprised. Maybe it's heightened. I don't know.
It's funny.
Coming down.
Crystal grew up in the Central Valley, grew up in Visalia between Fresno and Bakersfield, so farther from LA. But like the scenes of them like in the orange orchards, where there's like the fog in the 4th episode.
Yes,
she was like, this is some shit that like I have seen, like, because there's this Thule fog that happens in the Central Valley where like you get these foggy conditions during some part of the year, and they have all the orange trees, and it's like super hot in summer, so everyone dresses really scantily, and like it's like that was definitely the vibe of where she grew up.
There's that shot of Jules from behind. She's riding her bike through the orchard, and it's completely black. But then there's a huge bright spotlight on her.
Yeah.
That is obviously not from anything natural. It's just this amazing heightened view of her in the orange trees that was gorgeous.
That was pretty Lynchian. That had like some real like Mulholland Drive vibes for me.
So let's see. So we have Rue goes to Fez's house to get drugs. Fez tries to get her to leave before his dealer shows up. And this is the first introduction of things kind of getting away from Fez. So Mouse shows up with the face tattoos all over the place, and he makes her take fentanyl, which killed Prince, killed Tom Petty. Like this is a really, really bad drug that is way too intense, and she just sort of like falls apart. Fez has to bail her out by just throwing money at the problem and save her, but that was really upsetting. And then it goes straight from there into the attack of Nate on Tyler. And this was the part where April just got up and walked out of it. Like it
was a tough
she didn't say anything. She literally just got up and walked out, and I just started apologizing, texting like, I'm so sorry, this is horrible.
Yeah, it's also like this again is like a key, and like it's fitting this is Nate's episode. It ends like sort of with him doing this, and like he is reenacting like what his father does, right? Like the kneel down is a very like kind of like overtly kind of sexually dominant thing.
Fascinating.
And so he's like, this is him like kind of acting out this trauma in this obviously very inappropriate way.
So Jules is texting with Shy Guy 118 for days and starting to fall in love. And the big reveal for the finale of this episode is the fact that it is Nate.
Yeah.
And my final note just says, this show makes me feel physically ill.
I mean, it's not exactly a comfortable watch, but
No,
like
it's not.
I don't know. Like, so I guess I go back to like is this gratuitously violent and upsetting, like just to like fuck with the audience, like using like teenager stuff to just like kind of like mess with people. And I just don't, I guess like if you say it is, then you're indicting like kind of a pretty broad swath of historical culture. Like, you know, as an example, like if I were to tell you that there is a movie of, you know, a 13-year-old girl who has sex and then her lover kills her cousin and then they both die, that sounds fairly ridiculous, but it's also Romeo and Juliet. Like, you know, and so like, you know,
I saw that coming. I like
this
it.
is
Yeah,
not
I got that
good.
one.
This
Yeah.
is not like, you know, this is not like ahistorical in terms of its setting.
Right.
It's just, I think no matter what it is, the next generation, like either we don't remember what it was really like when we were that age, or the next generation's like, oh my God, what they're doing is so bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like it is the internet stuff does legitimately terrify me. One point Crystal raised was that like the Tyler, the Shy Guy Jules relationship, like basically only happens because of technology. Like there's no way that he could like kind of set this whole thing up except for entrapping her with like, you know, with technology. But then I thought of the fact
Cyrano?
that's what I was going to say. It is sort of like a super fucked up Cyrano in which instead of like, you know, like pretending to be whoever, he's, you know, doing something bad.
Yeah.
He's doing bad things.
Yeah, it's like opposite.
Yeah, it's opposite.
We're going to start to pick up the pace here a little bit as we move. So we have in episode 3, we have Made You Look. And this one starts out with Kat as our focus. And
okay, this is phenomenal. This is maybe my favorite thing in the whole show.
the One Direction anime.
Yes. The One Direction anime fanfic is absolutely the best thing in the whole show. I couldn't I'd forgotten this was in there, and it is such a ridiculous like statement of what they're trying to do in the show that I love it.
The first night. A 7,000-word fic that was largely credited with starting the Larry Stylinson conspiracy theory. That Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson of One Direction were secretly fucking. It's the first night of the Take Me Home tour. Louis was unusually nervous. His mouth was dry, palms sweating, when suddenly he felt the press of Harry's body from behind. Harry can sense the nervous tension running through Louis' stiff body. What are you doing? To calm your nerves. You're my best mate, and this is what mates do for one another. But Harry, what if someone sees? Let them. As Harry takes Louis into his mouth with surprising ease, he begins to suck his cock with torturous finesse.
The music, the animation, like, and the fact that the end of it is the shot of her sitting there looking at it, and then they sort of come down to her sitting on the sidelines in gym. Like, that was...
Also,
I love that
Zendaya's
story.
fake British accent. This is what mates do for each other. So good. Love everything about that.
Yeah.
This is the best episode, I think. Of the first 4, this is the best episode. Just like this
the
has
intro part?
of the whole episode. I think the whole episode is one of the strongest ones because it has this one.
I'm gonna disagree. I think the next episode is the strongest of the entire series.
Well, the cinematography
so far
in the 4th one is really strong. But like this one has the
it's
anime.
great.
It has the dick pic PowerPoint. It has the
Yes.
Bitcoin
The Dick Pic
speech.
PowerPoint is a real highlight.
Speak on
Yeah.
it, Sarah.
Is it true? Does it make sense? Does it how does it?
I just think, well, I could talk about this for a while, but like no one has ever, I think that like you're never sitting around with your young friends and being like, you know what I could really, have a hankering for. Really make my day. That's not happening. No one wants that.
Love it.
Yeah. It's very funny. It was very funny. I like that whole like little montage.
The best joke in there, I think, is like if you see a medieval sword run. Like the medieval sword is amazing.
Totally. That was horrifying or terrifying.
Just as a style note, she has a delightful jumpsuit on for doing this. She has this great maroon jumpsuit that she just absolutely kills.
Oh, my favorite Rue character. Maybe we might. I don't know if this is episode 4 when she turns into the Stabler like detective.
Morgan Freeman. That's in episode
later.
7.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that.
That was my favorite.
Keep looking, you mook. I'm Morgan fucking Freeman, and this is the beginning of the 3rd act.
Well, doesn't that seem like the first logical step? Honestly, Howard, this whole thing is beyond logic.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
God.
good.
Yeah, she is absolutely terrific in this. And we have a big deal in that Rue has been clean for 60 days. And after kind of falling apart on fentanyl and having Fez calling Jules to pick her up, Jules is the only one who can hold her accountable, right? She basically just says, you have to clean your shit up. And I do love, we talked about Jules and Shy Guy, the cinematography through those whole segments, especially the scenes where they're texting each other and you have split screen and you see them separately, but then they come into the same room and sit down, or they pass each other in the hallway.
Well, this is also the episode that has the like where it pulls up and they look down on the house. And you see like the floor plan of the house with no roof, which is pretty ridiculous.
I don't remember that part. Which house?
Her house.
It's like it's her on her bed and the camera cranes up and it shows like the, basically like the house has no roof. So you see like the floor plan, like the walls, like the segmenting the house.
Yeah, that was great.
It's like gratuitous.
It's similar to Life Aquatic with seeing the side of the boat open.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. So
there's a thing in the cinematography, like which basically the camera is never handheld. Like it's always on a dolly and it's always on a crane. Like it's like the movement of the camera is this very like smooth, like deliberate, like well planned out thing. There's a couple times in which there's a camera on a handheld and it's very noticeable. Otherwise it's this very like dreamlight constantly moving shot. In this episode also, it has this ridiculous shot where Kat, I think it's this episode where she walks into school and she's walking down the hallway and the camera pulls all the way back so that she's like just smaller in the context of the hall, like walking down, everyone's like looking at her. It's amazing. It's like, it's absolutely amazing what they do.
The reaction of everybody. So that's the scene where like X gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
And like people are just freaking out watching her walking in, and she is in her full power. Just amazing.
Both that X gonna give it to you, and Fezco opens the door in a Liquid Swords t-shirt, which again is like further hints that this is really a white Gen X.
This is for you.
Yeah. We know who this is for.
So Marcel Rev is the cinematographer DP for the pilot, and for sure for episode 4. I'm not sure on episode 3. But just does a phenomenal job through that whole process. So love all of Kat with camgirling and the concept of her beginning to get more of her own control and power. And this is where she goes to Fez and Ashtray for crypto advice.
Yeah,
which is just amazing.
Also worth noting.
Yeah, that was incredible.
That another good one in here is Kat's like love interest of Austin. The guy who plays Ethan, Austin Abrams. He's a delightful little actor. He's kind of the poor man's Timothy Chalamet, like because he's got like kind of like he's like the short poor man, the short discount Chalamet.
Yeah, but like worse. It's not.
Do you not like Chalamet?
No, well, I mean, I'm not like a huge fan, but I'm not like anti. But like, I'm just saying this guy is a little bit like he just plays. It's not like Chalamet is like one of those people that like you look at and you're like, oh, you're attractive.
Right.
Like, you don't look at this guy, but you're like, oh, you're probably nice.
That's rough. That is rough.
So you're saying not disarming.
Yeah,
he gives off nice vibes.
Like probably nice. I loved the joke though that she was making around like that he gave up school
shooter vibes.
The shooter vibes is great. The shooter vibes is great. And then he says, he's like, what's, she's like, I don't know, what's your Reddit username? He says, Incel Uprising.
That was so good.
Oh my God. What a great show. What a fucking great show this is. It is just, it's a fucking gem. I don't think it got enough credit. Did it get any awards? It should have gotten all the awards.
It's up for Emmys, and Zendaya is nominated for Best Actress. So
okay.
yeah, I think it's gonna do well.
Is that it?
I don't know. No, there's a bunch. It's like 15 or something.
All right, I'm not worried about it.
So meanwhile, Rue is falling for Jules hard. And, again, she's been keeping it on the straight and narrow, but then she goes to get water and she sees meds on the counter and she's just like immediately cracks. Like there's no question about it. She takes the drugs. She rides high to Narcotics Anonymous and she gives her statement. And then firefighter Ali, drug addict, calls her out immediately after and offers her help. And that was just amazing. Him laying it on her in terms of what the impact is to Gia and her family. Like that's the one leverage. And he insightfully understands exactly how he can move her and get her to take this stuff seriously.
Yep. Yeah, I really loved that. I really loved that scene. I love that, we can identify our own. And I know you're not fooling anyone.
But she's not ready yet. So this is important, right? So he brings the truth. She walks away. She goes to see Jules, who's excited about meeting Tyler. And Jules says, I hate everyone else in the world but you. And then Rue kisses her. But immediately, like as soon as it happens, she runs away. She freaks out. She goes to Fez. And to me, one of the best scenes in the entire series is when she's at the door, banging on his door for him to sell her drugs. And he won't do it.
Fuck you, Fez. Okay? Are you doing this because you care about me? If you gave a shit about me, you wouldn't have sold me the fucking drugs in the first place! But you did! You fucking did! So open the goddamn door! Open the door!
I can't do it.
Open the door!
Sorry.
Open the door! Open the door! Open the door! You did this to me! You did this to me, Beth. You fucking ruined my life.
That's tough.
Yeah, it was really intense. It's very. I don't know about y'all. I mean, I think Jason, you might be right because they may be writing to a type, but I really related to. Like, I knew all these people when I was younger. Yes, sure, there wasn't the revenge porn and some of the things that were very. Some of the things that are very, Gen Z.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the suburbs of New Jersey, and I knew like 9 Fezzes.
I knew none of this. I did not. I was never drunk outside of a family Passover Seder until I got to college. Let alone having done any drugs. I was very busy with the math team and the debate team. And I did not know anyone who was having sex or doing drugs or drinking at all.
They weren't on the math team.
I don't know. There might have been some bangers on the math team that I just wasn't invited to.
So I started Young Life at my high school.
I know what that is.
Yeah, fundamentalist Christian. That was where I learned to play guitar and, played music. And I was a fundamentalist. So for me, the cool move was to go to the party, but on the way I would go to the 7-Eleven and I would buy a quart of Nestle chocolate milk, Nestle Quick, and then I would put it in a paper bag so I could walk around the party and I could be like, hey, what's up? And I could be drinking my chocolate milk and no one would know.
Wow, that is, I kind of wish I could do that now.
Yeah, I found out.
It just makes sense.
Really nice wine, you guys.
I found out in college that someone I knew who was in my calc class came to school on acid. And the idea that could even happen in my universe was so mind blowing to me. I was like, how could that, it just seemed like a rip in the space-time continuum that was part of the same high school I went to. I also found out later that someone 2 kids had sex in the pool, in the high school pool, which is gross. Yeah. But I was I can't believe someone had sex at school. That's impossible. How could that even happen? So I don't know. I didn't go to these parties.
Yeah.
I knew an engineer who in the 90s was macro dosing. at work.
Is macrodosing just doing drugs?
That's just doing
Just-
drugs.
Just like taking full doses of LSD and also writing unbelievably efficient code and creating incredibly high
I'm not an
performance
addict.
software.
I'm a macrodoser.
I love that. Rue is such a macrodoser.
She's a macrodoser.
All right, so Rue, after failing to get Fez to open the door, she calls Ali, and that's the end of episode 3. So I want to kick into episode 4, which is my favorite. So this is Shook Ones Part 2, aka the Carnival episode. So to me, this is really, really
That's
the
a
high
Mobb
point.
Deep reference. If you want to know, if you want to know where we are.
Nice. So it starts with Jules at age 11 doing a tour of a facility and getting admitted to the unit. All of that is like just horrifying.
Oh God, yeah.
That was fucking horrible. That was the most emotionally affected I was. That whole thing just seems so fucking horrible.
But you do have her transitioning, describing that at 13, seeing guys in gas stations and cars, and that was all like really difficult to watch and to try and process. And then we get to Rue and Ali getting pancakes. And Rue says, this part was very tough for me. She says, there's nothing I'm passionate about. Everyone is fucked up and lost with their families, their hashtag activism. Like she basically just says she's taking heat, but the reality is everyone is that same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, shut the fuck up.
He is a good character.
He's really good.
So then we cut to the carnival.
The carnival. Yes.
So we have this great embrace and reconciliation from Rue and Jules. But the thing that struck me, and by the way, I'm going to be playing this for the next 10 minutes of this podcast. People listening will be listening to it right now. The score is unbelievable, and it's a single 10-minute track. And it takes these unbelievable waves of like going up high and then taking it back down. And it's Labyrinth. I thought it had to be somebody different, but man.
It is very good, very good. It's the music. The carnival in general is so dimensional, and each of these characters have their own journey at the carnival.
Even the opening shot, right? Where they go up and over by the Ferris wheel and from character to character.
Okay, that shot is ridiculous. That shot starts inside the pretzel stand with Ashtray and Fez and goes out through the window of the pretzel stand and then follows the characters around and then cranes up the side of the Ferris wheel. I mean, it's not one shot. They stitched it together at a couple points, but like it is a ridiculous effect. And like I think the music does the same thing. It takes you on this journey like through the thing. And that whole carnival is a set. Like they pulled all those rides from like various fairgrounds like across the state.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It wasn't a real place.
Jesus.
Yeah. This is serious
Really?
business. Yeah. This is a serious show.
Yeah. Yeah. You're both parents. Will you ever allow your children to go to carnivals like that? I mean, not the like sexual nature of this carnival, because like that's something extra. What I mean is like these like rickety looking high school.
I mean,
will my unborn daughter be sent to a carnival to take Molly and have some sort of weird sexual experience on
Have you thought about that?
carousel?
Are you thinking
I
about
was
that
thinking.
now?
I was thinking about it watching the show. I was like, oh man, we got like we're gonna have. Yeah, I was thinking it was like we're gonna have a daughter and it's gonna be.
Dad, what's your problem with the carousels?
Yeah.
Why can't I go on the carousel?
Why can't I ever go on a carousel? Yeah. No, yeah, it's rough. It definitely gives me anxiety. The internet gives me anxiety for the kids too, though, more than the carnivals.
Yeah.
The internet is the carnival you can never leave.
Yeah, no doubt. It's always on. So I do think that it was interesting that they do sort of pull back, right? I kept thinking things were going to go to like the worst possible awful things, right? So when Jules identifies Nate's dad and approaches him at the chili stand and he's rattled, Nate sees it, Rue sees it. I don't know, just like the way that they kind of resolve that, Nate's dad ultimately going to Jules and begging her not to ruin his life. Yeah. And Jules saying it won't be a thing. And then apologizing for even coming up there and him saying, it's okay. You know, like in that moment, they took care of each other.
It was a good scene. And they like sort of build the tension of you think something bad's going to happen because that is one of the rare times in which the camera's not on a dolly. Like when it's following Cal. Cal's point of view as he's stalking Jules is handheld. And so it has this like, all of a sudden it feels very different than anything else in the show because you're like jittery and like, so
you're like,
it
this
really,
is gonna be evil.
it's going to be bad. We know this is a bad guy and he's going to do something bad. But yeah, it sort of gives you a momentary reprieve there. And then similarly, you think something bad is going to happen with Gia because we don't know where she is and she's hanging out with the kids and like what's going on there. And like that ends up being okay too. I mean, this is, I think, the thing I love about the show is that, again, even though these were not my high school experiences, as previously discussed, it still captures that feeling of everything really matters. Every social interaction is like life or death. You're either gonna win or lose everything based on if you can be cool in this moment or not. And like, even though nothing really bad happens or nothing really amazing happens, it captures that intensity so well, and through the combination of not just like what's actually happening on the screen, but like
the music,
the way it's shot. It's incredibly well done, tapping into this essential teenage moment that no matter what kind of experience or what generation you're from is universal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, really was amazing.
So this does have an important setup for the rest of the series, which is Maddie and Cassie do Molly and decide to be, quote unquote, the baddest version of themselves for the rest of the year, whatever it is. Maddie pushes over the chili container for Nate's dad, and Nate chases her down, pulls her aside, chokes her. And that was an interesting moment where there is a little bit of vulnerability in Nate, and you sort of get this slice of him as this damaged person.
Like his fear.
Yeah.
His fear and his, like, he doesn't know what he's feeling. Like, the next scene, I'll just jump there. The finale of this is Jules at the lake waiting to meet Tyler, shy guy, who it turns out is Nate. And he shows up and he tells her that he's not the person that she met at the party and that he really cares about her. Then he kisses her. And in that, I was like, what is going to happen here? Is he going to kill her? Is he going to beat her up? Like what is going to happen? And in the end, he kisses her, and I can't tell what his emotional state is. Like, I don't know what he really feels. Then the rage comes out, and he's going to hold her and blackmail her, which is intense.
No, he's a complicated character. I mean, I think that's like why he's an interesting antagonist, is because like he is dealing with his own trauma himself. He's a villain. Like, his behavior is reprehensible. He's not someone we want good things to happen to, but like, he's not just like, He's not Christian Bale in American Psycho, where it's just like, oh, this is like a psycho killer. Like there's more there, which I think is interesting.
Mm. And you do have, this episode ends with, after being blackmailed, Jules goes to Rue's house and says he didn't look like his picture, and they kiss. And this is that shot where it's like going over the bed and then flipping them somewhere else and then coming back and going over the bed again, just sort of rotating around. That was gorgeous.
It was beautiful.
I also loved the line, like, he didn't look like his picture. I thought it was just so heartbreaking. Like, I just found that like so sad.
Yeah, because it was so like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm. So we're going to leave the remaining episodes as take-home work for people to finish up on their own. I do just want to say that the ongoing development of the characters as we go there, whether it's Rue or Jules or Nate, is really phenomenal. And there is a hell of a journey. Towards the end, you come to quite a big showdown at the winter formal in the season finale of the episode. And I was kind of shocked because I thought this was like a one and done show. I didn't realize season 2 is actually meant to start shooting anytime now.
Yeah.
There is not a lot of resolution in the season finale. A lot of stuff is left out. And I do just want to call out, the final scene.
I'm taking it all for us. I'm taking it all. I'm taking it all for us.
And the sort of experience that she has that leads to the end of the season, and just get your takes on the song, the full-blown version of All For Us by Labyrinth and Zendaya. What did you guys make of that scene?
Yeah, quite often I'll just like watch that video because I love that song and I love that choir and just everything. Her walking through, seeing her family, and just the whole thing is amazing.
When the marching band came in, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. It's so good. I want to watch it right now. I want to put it on.
Yeah.
We're gonna end the podcast so we can watch the video.
I know. It's so great.
So truly a phenomenal thing. So we are watching this show, Euphoria, to find out what we learned about Dune 2020. So Zendaya plays Chani in Dune. I know she has said she had a relatively small role in the first film. Jason, what is your key takeaway from Euphoria and your thoughts around Dune?
She's way more star power than Chani needs, to be perfectly honest. Like Chani, like I hope they found more to do with Chani than because Chani's like kind of a problem in the book. Like she's not like well enough treated, and so I hope they give her more to do. I did see this week, it was Zendaya's birthday this week, and I had a little special ceremony with some smudge stick to start,
celebrate?
And then I watched some Euphoria.
Took some Raid 5.
Yep. Did some Raid 5, just really got lit.
Took some Raid 5.
But Timothée Chalamet wished her a really nice birthday on Twitter. It was so sweet, and I liked that. So I thought that was nice.
Her response was really sweet as well.
Yeah.
What did she say back?
It was,
thank you.
She was like, "Oh, thank you, friend. You're such a tremendous person."
My heart is melting.
Was it them or their publicists, do you think?
No, it was them. Come on, these guys are real. Come on.
Come on, man. This is real feeling. It was like, it was real feelings. She said, Timothy said, "Happy birthday to one of the most inspiring people I've ever met on my short journey. Someone with the strongest ethical character and a moral compass that is in harmony with a totally fearless creative abandon. Happy birthday, Zendaya. Hope your day is beautiful, friend."
Wow. ... Wow, that's
and she
amazing.
She said, "Yo, you about to make me tear up over here, man. Thank you for this. I appreciate you very much. ...
Perfect.
The ... contains a lot of feelings, I felt.
It does.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to be great. She's going to be great as Chani.
She's going to be great.
No concerns.
Okay. And for Sarah, for you, just sort of like overall thoughts on Euphoria as a work of art.
I mean, I love it. I'm obsessed. I mean, even the font. Sometimes I go to sleep thinking about the font, and I wake up the next morning thinking about the font.
Love that.
They have the font for the show, which is kind of like a serif font, and then they have the logo for the credits, which is the crazy, bold, intense metal.
Yeah, so good.
I love it. Thank you for pushing for this. We also want to watch. I think Greatest Showman is another Zendaya film with Zach and Hugh Jackman, and
she's so good.
A couple other things. She is really a talent.
We have to do one quick piece of business on this, which is who would Tilda Swinton play in Euphoria?
If you had to recast one role in this TV show with Tilda Swinton, who would that be?
Nate's dad.
So good. Love it. It's so good. That's amazing. Wow. How differently would those scenes play?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Cal Jacobs.
Oof.
Amazing. I was going to go with Fez.
Fezco is a really good choice.
Interesting. Yeah.
Which obviously is the other choice, which is Ashtray.
Yes. Exactly.
Great. Nailed it.
Can
you imagine if Tilda Swinton played Ashtray and then she got to do the line, "Welcome to Pretzelmania. May I take your order?"
That'll be 40.
That is my favorite. That's like, "Can I take your order? Welcome to Pretzelmania."
That is amazing.
So good.
God, Ashtray, what a treasure. Letters. Dun, 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 dun.
Yes. So we have letters and voicemail. So we're going to start with Jason's going to read us a letter.
Oh my God. Okay. Special shout out to Jeff Broussard, who gave us a field report from seeing the trailer. And he writes, "Saw the Dune trailer last night. While it was more of a trailer for a trailer, it opened with the Gom Jabbar scene in the box. After the Reverend Mother says pain is in the box, there is a shot of an ornithopter landing, which looks awesome. And then flashes of major characters, Paul with the Fremen, Stilgar, Idaho, Jessica, the Baron, Chani, Raban, etc. What was of note was that there was no sandworms. The Fremen may have had the blue eyes, but I don't remember it standing out. After watching Tenet, and that's officially fucked my mind, I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but that's what I remember. We appreciate you, Jeff, for this good field report. More field reports welcome as you see the teaser trailer.
Nice. Thank you, Jeff. All right, we have a couple of Dune Pod voicemails, so I'm going to play these. This is the first one right here.
Dune Pod, what's up, Haitch, Jason, and esteemed guest? This is Corey from Austin. I was calling about the latest episode, Little Women. I really didn't have any interest in Little Women, but I did love y'all's episode. So it's great to hear you guys talk about it and, hearing y'all's thoughts about these, Timothy's performance and actually all the great performances it sounds like in the movie. I still don't know if I'm going to watch it, but I would like to say that thanks to you guys, I started watching Devs. So if we backtrack to one of your earlier pods where we talked about Ex Machina, so that which is also a great episode. So got me into Devs. Great series so far. I haven't finished it yet. I don't know if I know exactly quantum computing. In fact, I know nothing about it, so it's kind of confusing. I would be interested to maybe throw that into the hat or to the ring of you guys thinking of possible pods kind of stuff. But I know you're really thinking about an additional pod, just a single standalone and not another series. So that being said, Devs, the soundtrack is phenomenal. I don't know if it necessarily belongs with this show. I kind of have a weird, sometimes it seems like overpowering for what's actually happening. I love it though. I love all the music that they've used in the episodes. And I guess if I was to recast Tilda, in this show, I would say, have her do a cameo as the Russian operative Anton. I think that was the guy's name. He was only in like 1-2 episodes and he was the one that spoilers. All right. Thanks guys. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to the next episode of the Dune Pod. And of course, we are super stoked for the movie to eventually come out.
So great.
That was a great voicemail. Thank you, Corey. I agree with his casting.
That's Corey, who sent us incredible Dune custom artwork as postcards and was our first ever voicemail. So, Sarah, it's 12:18 a.m. EST. Can you please describe quantum computing?
Yeah, let's get started.
You've done a podcast. You did a podcast on quantum computing already.
Yeah, I forget. I was okay. Here's how I describe quantum computing. This is for the guest that left the voicemail. Okay,
Corey.
So here we go. 30 seconds. You know how computers listen, like, and it's like ones and zeros is all they understand. But what if it wasn't?
So good.
Perfect.
That's great.
There you go.
All right.
God
Stay
bless. What a
tuned
great guest.
for Quantum Pod coming soon.
What a great guest.
To the Paper Keg Radio Syndicate. All right, here is our second and final voicemail, and I think you'll recognize this voice.
Hey guys, it's Catcher calling in, like I said that I would. But actually, I really did have a question, which stems from a quote I saw a few months ago from Denis Villeneuve, where he was talking about Star Wars and Dune and their interconnectivity in terms of inspiration, and he mentioned that this was going to be an opportunity for him to make the Star Wars movie that he didn't see, and also that it would be sort of an adult Star Wars. So I'm wondering, what is your sort of gut reaction to hearing those words? As big of fans of the book as I imagine he is, does that resonate with you at all? And sort of what do you think sort of an adult Star Wars could be, and how does Dune work its way into that? Love to hear your thoughts. Hopefully that question is not too confusing and answered any way you like. Anyways, have a good one. I've been really enjoying the show. It's a blast being a listener of it, and just keep it up. So talk to you soon. All right, bye.
Catcher, thank you so much. We love getting that. Jason, your take on adult Star Wars versus baby Star Wars.
I mean, I think that, I guess it makes sense. Like, I think the thing about Star Wars in terms of how it exists within the science fiction world is that it's often called space opera. And so it's like soft science fiction, right? Like, it doesn't have like real, like, I mean, people have, created Wikipedia pages about Star Wars to explain how lightsabers work and all of that, but it doesn't really matter in terms of how you enjoy the show. Like, it's about the broad spectacle of it. And I love Star Wars, and I'm an adult. But I think what that means in terms of like what an adult Star Wars means is that they're going to do a lot more on like the hard sci-fi side of like, you have to kind of understand like, the history of this world, what the Butlerian Jihad is, and like, what, how Bene Gesserits work and how like Mentats work and like the kind of internal logic of those pieces in a way that maybe isn't necessary because Star Wars ultimately, works for small children. I don't think Dune is going to work. I don't think Dune is going to work for kids.
Dune is going to work for teenagers, for
but both
like
are good.
Maladjusted teenagers on drugs are going to get Dune very well.
We just love Catcher. Catcher's a great host and now voicemail leaver.
Awesome. Catcher, thank you so much for sending us voicemail. Well, that brings us to the end. Sarah, what are you up to? What's going on in New York? What's next? Give us a plug for something good going on.
Like in New York in general, or for me personally?
Yeah, tell us about what's fall going to be like in New York.
Oh yeah, Cuomo keeps posting thirst traps.
No,
he's promoting his book. We're all just here for Cuomo's book tour now.
Amazing. Seems bleak.
All right. Well, so Jason, I'm going to cut you loose to go back to planting the bloodlines across all of Europe. And
speaking of which. Speaking of my bloodlines, want to give a small shout out. This is not maybe the most appropriate episode to do it on, but small shout out to my 10-year-old nephew, Soren, who found out I had a podcast this week and that like it was like legit in Spotify. And he was super impressed. He has no relationship with Dune, but I feel he could be a future future sandworm writer. And I'm stoked that I'm stoked that he thinks I'm cool that we have a podcast in Spotify.
That is great. Hey, Soren.
That is amazing. And I just want to say, Soren, if you're listening, please don't listen to this episode.
Yeah. But do give us a 5-star review.
Yeah, for sure.
So nice.
And that's it for this episode of Dune Pod. I want to thank Jason and Sarah for a really fun conversation. Next week, we take a walk on the wild side with Denis Villeneuve's 2013 thriller, Enemy. Watch this movie. You can thank me later. If you're enjoying this podcast, follow us at DunePod on Instagram and Twitter and share our social media posts as it really helps new listeners find the show. DunePod is a production of Haitch Industries, a member of the Paper Keg Radio Syndicate. The episode was produced and edited by me, H. Our artwork is by Catcher, and our theme music was composed by Toby Forsman of Whipsong Music. Thanks for listening. We'll see everybody next week.